Hey, welcome. So today we're going to dive into a pretty wild idea. What if the way we've all been taught to understand the world, the very rules of the universe, is completely backwards? Let's get into it. I mean, really think about that for a second. What if physics, with all those abstract equations and concepts that maybe made your head spin in school, was taught in the wrong order? What if there's a much more intuitive way to get a feel for how stuff actually works? All right. So to even begin to answer that, we've got to start by rethinking physics itself. In this first part, we're going to look at a whole new philosophy for understanding the physical world around us. You know how a typical physics class goes, right? It usually starts with math and tiny invisible particles and tries to build everything up from there. But the approach we're talking about today, it flips that completely on its head. It says, let's start with things we can actually see and touch. Let's get the big ideas first and then look inside to see how they work.
Okay, so let's build on that. Our next section is all about learning from objects, not just from equations on a blackboard. But what does that actually look like? How do you do it? Well, the source material calls this an executive update on physics, and I just love that phrase. It's not about turning you into a physicist, it's about getting a practical, real-world briefing on reality. You just start with something you already know, and you get curious about what makes it tick.
And the process? It's actually super simple. You start with something familiar, say the way a wine glass sings when you run your wet finger around the rim. Okay, cool. Now look inside. What's actually happening? What's vibrating? How is that sound being made? And just from that one simple thing, you can start to uncover these huge universal ideas about waves and resonance and energy. See, it's more of an investigation than a lecture.
And this brings us to a really important point. This is not just some neat trick for learning science. The argument here is that this is basically a user's guide to reality, a skill that's becoming critical for navigating the world we live in today.
Which of course leads to the big question, why now? Why is this kind of thinking, this intuition, more important today than maybe ever before?
Well, just think about your daily life. We are flooded with technical-sounding information about everything. New gadgets, health risks, can't-miss opportunities. And at the same time, energy costs are hitting all of us right in the wallet. Having a solid, grounded sense of how things really work helps you cut through all that noise, be a little more skeptical, and honestly, just make smarter choices.
This quote from the source just hits the nail on the head. Understanding something basic like energy isn't just for a test. It's about taking control, you know? It's about managing your own resources, your own little place in the sun. It's actually really empowering. So what this all boils down to is building something called physical intuition. This is the goal. It's not about memorizing formulas. It's about developing a reliable, sound gut feeling for how the world operates. It's about knowing the rules of the game. Okay, now for the really cool part. This is the big payoff. The idea is that underneath all the complexity we see, the entire universe is pretty much governed by just a couple of incredibly powerful ideas.
So what are they? What are the two master keys, the two big ideas that can help us make sense of, well, almost everything?
The first one is energy. It's basically the currency of the universe. It's the capacity to do anything, to make things happen. You can't make it, you can't destroy it, you can only change its form. It is the engine that drives everything.
And the second one, it's information. And we're not just talking about data on a screen. We're talking about the patterns, the instructions, the blueprint that tells energy what to do and what to become. It's the code that turns energy into a star or a tree or even a thought.
And here's the part that'll bend your brain a little. These two things, energy and information, they are not separate. They are deeply, deeply connected. Think about it. The challenge of saving energy is really an information problem. It's about finding smarter patterns, better codes. In fact, in some corners of physics, they're seen as two sides of the exact same coin.
And once you start looking at the world through this lens of energy and information, you see it everywhere. It connects the timing of GPS satellites to the physics of hitting a home run. It's in how a medical laser works and how our own eyes see. It's the secret behind photosynthesis, and it's the power in a lightning strike. It connects gravity to the magnetic memory in your hard drive. It's all just a constant dance between energy and information.
So this really presents us with a choice. If you want to become a true expert on one specific thing, you specialize, you go deep. But if your goal is to just better understand the world you actually live in, you can get incredibly far by just mastering a few of these powerful connected ideas.
Because at the end of the day, what we've been talking about isn't just another way to learn. It's like a whole new lens for your eyes, a new operating system for your brain that lets you see the hidden connections in everything around you.
And that really leaves us with one final thought. After looking at things this way, what everyday object, your phone, your coffee maker, even a simple glass of water, are you never going to see the same way again?